Oh, I have to show you guys my shirt.
I love it when we start like this.
Oh!
Let's just not say what it is so that the listener is left in total suspense.
Well, maybe this
They
will
have
be
to
a
watch our
video
clips.
pod.
Yes, we do. We're doing full. Are we doing full video pods now? We'll talk. We'll talk with super secret producer Iskinder. I'm sure he's cooking up something in the lab. That's a dope shirt, though, Benny.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's an Andre Nicotina themed shirt.
Wait, you can't give it away. This is now.
I'm not giving it totally away.
It could soon be a podcast for your ears and your eyes.
Oh.
Every sense. We're coming for all 6 senses. Yes, there are
Be
6.
a podcast for your nose soon. Yeah,
You can smell it. You'll be a dead podcast that you can see, like Bruce Willis in Sixth Sense. All 6 senses.
I don't want to be a dead podcast.
Nah, that doesn't sound fun.
We won't be. The podcast won't be dead.
Unless I get to haunt Terry, then it will
we'll
be
have
really fun.
ghosts. You've been haunting me our entire friendship.
I know, and I'm still alive.
Right.
Just wait till I'm dead.
Oh my God, no, JP! Someone protect JP at all costs. When they come up with like the immunization for like everything, like the cure all, like all cancer, all everything, please give it to JP first.
Yeah, I'll take it. I don't mind being a guinea pig.
And you also just can't live. You can't die before me.
I'm
very interested in keeping you alive as long as I can. Like a good friend, and for my own selfish reasons as well.
Is it going to be a race for us to die first between you and I?
Oh.
It's a lifelong game of chicken.
Yeah, except for we're both trying to expire.
Don't.
No. Oh man, this is took a morbid start for what I think is going to be a positive episode. Wait,
this was a fun start.
This is it's a fun.
Talking about ghosts.
We're talking about ghosts and shit. Yes, we'll be a podcast. Like ghosts will be doing our podcast.
Or AI, like that intro, like from 5 episodes ago, and no one even realized
that the outer realm will be able to experience belligerent beeves in all of the lively joy it produces.
I saw today that ChatGPT-4 now has a memory across conversations for you.
Oh.
So if you tell it something about yourself, it will remember it in a different conversation later on. So we could continuously feed it our transcripts and have it write episodes for us. And then
to write
for
episodes for us.
Oh, you don't have to do shit.
If it could make the encyclopedia for us, that would be great.
And GPT-5 is going to supposedly allow us to make videos for us. So we really could just sit back.
What's the Grand Theft Auto that hasn't come out yet that people...
6.
Will ChatGPT 6 be out before Grand Theft Auto 6? It's looking like it.
Probably.
It's looking like it will be.
GPT-4 came out GPT-4 came out late last year, and GPT-5's coming out like this summer. So yeah, it probably will. I heard a rumor that Grand Theft Auto 6 may be getting delayed.
No.
2026.
Yet again.
Which would suck.
I don't have a console I can even play GTA 6 on, but I'll be invested in this for you guys, I guess.
Dude, you have to.
When GTA 6 comes out, that might be when I buy a PS whatever they're on by the time GTA 6 comes out.
Yeah.
You don't really need a 5. I would say that my biggest regret, well, not really biggest regret, but I have bigger regrets. But my my big regret is buying a PS5 because in a way it kind of feels like a PS3 where they're just playing old games that are upscaled for the console. Like there's nothing made specifically for a PS5. There's like
same thing
maybe
with
a dozen
Xbox
games.
Series X.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, Benny, are you an Xbox guy?
Well, I mean, yeah. If I could go back and be a PlayStation guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe next console, the next console circus is going to be like the same as like the realignment circus. Those are the terms we'll put it under. So
yeah.
Imagine if switch conferences, you might switch consoles. Console realignment.
Yeah, but what about PlayStation transfers to Microsoft?
Well, it doesn't, does it?
No, I'm saying if PlayStation hit the transfer portal and joined Microsoft. God.
I almost fell out of my chair. Yeah. Oh, what a wild world
that might be what it would take for someone to be like, you know what, this has gone too far. We're going back to the 1950s rules.
Yeah. It's like, well, you guys have seen the South Park episode where it's PlayStation versus Xbox.
That is a great episode.
It is a great episode. Up there with Michael Jackson's backyard playground.
Episode of 100. Are we on 130?
139. Damn girl fine.
Ooh.
Let's go. Episode 139. Welcome to this episode of the Belligerent Beavs draft. Not Belligerent Beavs podcast. I was about to say NFL draft recap edition, kind of. We'll talk about more than just the draft, but I think there's a lot of celebrating we want to do for the Beavs who are now Pro Beavs, and celebrating people who stayed through it all at Oregon State before going from Oregon State to the pros is especially poignant these days, for all the reasons. We don't need to get into all of that because we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. Taliese Fuaga and more, many more, and got some other transfer things for incoming transfers for other programs that are exciting, and a series win on the baseball field against that team from down the road. And we'll be getting into all of that on this episode 139 of the Belligerent Beavs podcast. Thank you so much for being here, listener. And thank you, Benny and JP, for being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you guys look great. How are we doing? It's a Monday night. We didn't record last night, so I could watch Game 4.
Hey, I watched it.
Suns. I mean, I know we all probably watched it, but
I watched the highlights of Anthony Edwards doing the Degeneration X, whatever you call that, the motion.
Right. I appreciate you being like, after seeing this, the Wolves are now my favorite team in these playoffs.
I thought when I first saw that clip, I thought he was pretending to jack off with two hands.
Oh my God.
He has a huge dick. And he looked over at that lady and she started wagging her finger at him, which would have been cooler than what he did. What he did was very cool, but
that's a little vulgar, but
I don't know. I think
for us, even for no, it's the Degeneration X suck it motion from, was that WCW or WWF?
No, that was WWF.
WWF, okay.
Yeah.
With X-Pac and Triple H.
That's right.
No, yeah. And there was somebody else.
The Heart Man.
Oh God.
He died.
The Horse Man?
No, he's still very much alive.
The Worst Man?
I think they called him Lover Boy.
I sadly was not that into wrestling, and that's one of the great regrets of my childhood, because I feel like people of our age who were like, I know it enough, like, I guess.
Oh, Shawn Michaels was in it.
Shawn Michaels.
And the Road Dogg, Jesse James.
That sounds familiar.
And the badass Billy Gunn. They became the New Age Outlaws later. And China.
JP, please read more wrestler names, please.
Who was Leatherface? Was what about Mick Foley?
Oh yeah, I liked Mick Foley.
Booker T. Booker T was the guy.
No, he was WCW.
Oh, and so was Goldberg. He was WCW.
One time, Minnesota Vikings training camp player Brock Lesnar.
Oh,
that's a guy. I know. Yeah.
I think he's UCF.
He got an invite.
He started in wrestling.
He started in WWF. It may have been WWE by that point, but yeah.
I went to a WWF event when I was
Monday Night SmackDown.
They used to be Monday Night Raw, but it was actually like a Saturday non-televised event at the Cow Palace in South San Francisco.
Yeah,
and it was not at all upscale like they do for the TV events or whatever. but they still had like some of the setup and the stage and the ramp. None of the headliners really were anyone worthwhile or worth noting. But The Rock did come out at the end and talked about how much he loved San Francisco because he was raised there, born there. I mean, he's born in Hawaii, but I think he lived in San Francisco for a little bit. Either way, he called it his hometown, and I thought that was like really cool when I was 13 years old. But the best part was I somehow convinced my dad to buy me a DX foam finger thing, and it was a big X or like a green X on your hand, and he didn't see the backside because the front side just had like D Generation X, and then the backside said "suck it." And my mom was not thrilled when I came home with that. I pretty much had to hide it in my closet because
That's amazing.
I was not going to be waving that thing around my house with my mother's lack of approval.
Just go in your room alone and do it like just to get satisfied that way.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know X-Pac is from Minneapolis?
X-Pac?
Whoa.
Yeah, not Tupac.
Yeah, he's
His
generic.
name's Sean
Pac.
Waltman.
Yeah.
His name's Sean Waltman. Did you
Oh
know
my
him,
gosh!
Terry?
And guess who he married?
Oh.
He was married to for 8 years. Terry Waltman.
Oh, that's fucking you.
Yeah, it's you.
Stop exposing my secrets here on episode 139.
Yeah, Horse is just like one of your like.
Yeah, the horse was named Walt. Derby winner.
Oh man,
The original
Terry
Kentucky Derby.
Waltman. That is so you.
Okay. I'm kind of lost in what we're talking about, but I'll take it. Or I'm just playing dumb to not expose secrets.
Yeah. But we can read your body language now if this is on video, which we don't know if it will be. But it might be.
But it could be.
Yeah.
And you will be all kinds of exposed.
Yep. Everyone will know.
I
Dude,
did
Mike
not know
Tyson
that.
was a member of DX.
What?
He's listed under former members.
Oh man,
That's
he
probably a
is.
loose affiliation or a very modern one.
Oh, Stephanie McMahon. She was too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she was a heel for a bit. I think she's kind of a heel again because she's like the owner.
Oh, she take over for Vince?
Yeah, I think we all know why.
Even I know that one.
Yeah.
I do have to say, WWF had the entrance songs. Oh
they
man,
hit
they
so hard.
slapped
They
so
used to-
hard.
even like the last time I probably really watched wrestling was when we were all adult, like legal adults, but mentally not adults. In Portland, they used to play Monday Night Raw with the audio on Monday nights at Marathon.
Did they?
Yeah.
What? That's awesome. I did not know
I
that.
remember
I was
there
not
like
at
being a
Marathon
game
on
there.
Monday nights.
Shocking, because I felt like we were there every day.
Yeah.
But there's like one time where there's like a group of, old heads who are in there and got it on the big screen in the front room facing the swag table. And it was like, I remember they changed a Major League Baseball playoff game to Monday Night Raw, and I'll change the audio to Raw as well. And I looked at Kenny. Kenny was like, is this a weekly thing? And he was like, oh yeah, these guys are hardcore. They're like betting on it and shit. It was great. Great neighborhood vibes at that
I
point.
remember my
I hope they're
favorite,
still doing it.
my favorite marathon moment has to be though when we closed it down one night on a Saturday night, and I think we were there.
Gonna have to be more specific.
Yeah. Well, then the next morning, I got there super early to grab our table for football, and ordered a Deuce's breakfast. Was given my regular fork and a plastic knife, and my 2 slices of toast, my 2 eggs, and my 2 pieces of bacon for $2. And I realized at that point that it had been like 6 hours not even 6 hours since I had left marathon, and I was back there eating breakfast, and that's when I began to reevaluate where I was.
You went home to watch Workaholics for 2 hours, sleep for 4 hours, and then went back to marathon.
Yeah,
because it was first come first serve if you wanted to get your team with audio in that back room.
Yeah,
and Inestis was a man of the people. He honored who got there first, so there was always a race for us to get there first.
Yeah, and I was holding it down. I held it down for like 2 hours by myself.
Yeah, they opened at 7 a.m.
I often had to work at the tanning salon in those days.
Oh, those were the days.
That there was a new tanning salon that was just down the road from Marathon, but I think that missed you. If that had been your tanning salon.
No.
Oh yeah, the one on Burnside?
Yeah.
Economy was tough.
There's a Burnside Tan Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that spot.
One. Yeah, that one had their billboard had a picture of my friend Kaylee Crawford.
Yeah, that's right. And it was unauthorized, right? She wasn't even some agent like took her photos and then just like sold them anywhere they could.
Can you imagine the shock if you were just driving down a street like Burnside or a street in any city and there's just a billboard with you looking back at you and you had no idea? Yeah. How the fuck would you react to that?
And not being able to do anything about it either.
No.
Right.
Yeah. Tough.
Well, that's how the world works.
Be careful. Be careful with your IP, kids. That's the lesson here.
Yeah. Good lesson.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about weird tanning salon billboards when Benny had weird jobs working at weird tanning salons. Although we could fill a total episode with the tales from that time. Anyway, we're here to talk about Oregon State athletics, for gosh sakes.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of good stuff to get into. It was, obviously a lot. I keep thinking I'm like putting notes and stuff together, looking back on like the week that was, but like, man, kind of a testy week. And then I'm like, it's been like a testy year and a fucking half. So searching for small joys in this, and also some pretty significant joys as well.
Yeah.
That I don't want to get lost in the shuffle just because we're mad at stuff. So life's good today.
We've had far worse weeks than we had this last week.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know we've been getting more listener replies. Listeners, you guys have been great on what we should call the new Vices segment, aka the drugs and alcohol placeholder segment, or whatever. Definitely not the Reagan beer segment, who just announced she's going to Oklahoma. Maybe, I don't know, there's a sarcastic Sooners podcast that can use that. Feel free, Sooners. We won't sue you.
Not yet.
Just go for it. Enjoy. But so I forgot to go through some of those. But I know that there were definitely some good ones. Keep them coming.
Isn't it interesting that I don't think it's arguably, but I will say it, arguably the best player on our women's basketball team goes to Oklahoma, and not arguably the best player on our men's basketball team goes to Texas, and now they're rivals. Big rivals.
Yeah.
What does it all mean?
What does it all mean?
Something.
Probably nothing. Unfortunately, probably nothing. Nothing matters. Just kidding. Everything matters, and so does the grain alcohol. Because what else is the fucking point segment? My favorite from last week. So let's have a toast and get into this. Benny, do you have more stuff from your own garden?
No. No, I don't. In fact, I have gone substance free for the last week, and I have to say, I'm
good
feeling
for you.
really good. Yeah,
you look great.
Wow,
you're glowing.
Congratulations!
You're working out like a maniac.
You have.
Oh,
I'm scared.
Don't be.
The Peloton output numbers you're putting up are alarming,
dude. And I got a weight set too.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Did you put every single weight in that set into one vest and put it over your torso and go mow the lawn?
No, but we did have the Tacoma Marathon go by our house over the weekend, and there were people that were wearing like shoulder straps to give themselves good posture, and I was like, "What is that?" And Jerry was like, "It's probably one of those dumb fucking vests that you got
that you hurt yourself with."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, that's
they
good
weren't.
For you.
Yeah.
I was at a bachelor party in Scottsdale this weekend, and I went for a run today to try and get back to normal, and it was not a good run at all.
So normal.
Like really notably bad.
So you went back to normal.
Way off normal.
Yeah, but you had nice weather to do the run in, right?
No, it was after I got back.
Is the weather not nice there?
Actually, well, it's been rainy the last few days, but that's actually after being in Scottsdale where it was just hot. It was like it kind of felt like a little cleansing. I stepped out of the airport, so we're having spring. Is it miserable in the Northwest right now?
I don't know. It's 46 and drizzling right now. So
yeah, it's just gray and rainy. Normal. Again. We lost our sunshine.
We're a little bit warmer.
We're getting a foot of snow at like Mount Hood.
That's good.
Otherwise, yeah.
Nice.
Well, I guess.
Well, good for
you.
It's
also May almost.
I know.
It will be May on Wednesday. That's crazy.
It's gonna be May.
It's gonna. JP, please play 5 seconds of "Bye Bye Bye" by NSYNC. Is that? It's that song, right?
What?
No, isn't it? It's gonna be me.
It's. Please play 5 seconds of "It's Gonna Be Me" by NSYNC. Oh my god, I can't believe I fucked that one up. You could just say "bye bye bye" to me for the rest of the episode because I am not on my A game.
That's what a bachelor party in Scottsdale.
That's what a bachelor party in Scottsdale into a first sweep in franchise history will do to you.
Yeah.
I was up way too late watching highlights over and over again, as one does.
As you should. Yeah.
JP, what are you sipping on?
Oh, I'm on an Elysian Space Dust IPA. Back on the Elysian game. My wife procured them, so I figured I'd have something a little different than my Starburst, which is now holstered to the side of my desk.
Nice.
There are very few things good that have come out of Seattle. Elysian is one of the few.
Well, yeah, it was better until Budweiser bought them, or Anheuser-Busch bought them.
Yeah.
They're just buying everything. Elysian, Jimi Hendrix.
Nirvana,
Nirvana, Pearl Jam. We could keep going, maybe, but I don't know if you want to.
Soundgarden.
The Mariner Stadium is nice.
Yeah, it's okay.
The Mariner Stadium is nice. Yeah.
Some of the seats are a little ridiculous.
Priced?
No, just like you're like, why would I ever want to sit way up here with like no view of left field?
Yeah. Well, with the exception of the last 3 seasons, a lot of the feeling is like, why am I even here at all? No matter the seat. But yeah, I hear you.
Still a day at the ballpark.
Yeah.
I went back to. I haven't had these folks on in a while, but
Hams.
there is my usual auxiliary hams here, but Belching Beaver, our friends at Belching Beaver, our favorite named brewery, and it's
nice.
The most widely available Belching Beaver is their peanut butter stout, which is just a great beer, but not one that I can have a lot of, or crave like often. But this is the Deftones Phantom Bride India Pale Ale. And it was like, it's been a while since I've been drinking IPAs with Jay on here, so I might as well get a real beer at some point. Belching Beaver, the best named brewery in the country, obviously down in Oceanside, California. And it's a really good IPA. I'm enjoying it. Bit more, pungent and hoppy and booze forward than my usual hams, but it's smooth and it's nice and I like it.
Deftones is a band I have not heard their name spoken in a long time.
Ooh, the Deftones? They're from Seattle, right?
Are they?
I don't know.
I know that the Deftones exist.
No, they're Sacramento.
Sacramento.
And that's about it. That's more on me than you, Deftones, or any Deftones fans out there.
Yeah, well, Phantom Bride is one of their songs. And I thought at the time, I went to Belching Beaver in San Diego, one of their, I don't know, tap houses, and they said that it was a collaboration with Deftones, the band, that beer.
Oh, that's
but I don't know. Cool. I don't know what was collaborated on. Was it the artwork, or they just borrowed the name of the song?
They played Deftones songs into the crafts of beer as they were brewing them. The beaver on the can does look really cool, though.
It does look really cool.
Yeah, it's got those roses and shit there. It's like a phantom and a bride, but also a beaver.
Is that like a Day of the Dead themed can?
It does look like it.
Yeah.
I could just read the copy. Named after the ethereal song by the one and only Deftones, Phantom Bride IPA is a blend of Amarillo, Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic hops, delicately balanced for the perfectly drinkable mix of citrus and hoppy goodness. A truly original Deftones Belching Beaver collaboration, envisioned by Chino Moreno and skillfully crafted by Thomas Peters. Sit back, put on your headphones, and drink away. Perfect to drink while podcasting. It doesn't say that, but I can vouch for that.
It should.
I'll put that in a Google review. Belching Beaver, help you guys out.
Nice, good idea.
5 stars only.
Did you guys know that? So Deftones is from Sacramento. Cake is from Sacramento. Hippie Sabotage is from Sacramento. They've got a little
I've heard of them.
Good music scene
showing
up.
That doesn't surprise me.
In Sacktown. I'm sure I'm missing more, but
Light the Beam.
No, don't do that.
Light the Beam, Sacktown.
Has Sacramento had an exciting team since White Chocolate left?
Yeah, White Chocolate, I think, was pre-Western Conference Finals Kings. So, yes.
Yeah, right? I mean, they obviously did pretty well last year, but Jay Will, he kind of inherited. Well, Bibby kind of inherited Jay Will's squad.
Right. Jay Will was gone when Weber, Peja, Vlade, Bibby, Doug Christie made it to the Western Conference Finals and lost to the Lakers. So to answer your question, Benny, yes,
yeah, but were they fun to watch? No.
Oh, he did. I forget what YouTube channel he was on, but he had there's a feature on Jason Williams.
I love Jason Williams.
Oh, me too. I want to get Mitchell and Ness has a Kings throwback jersey of Jason Williams, and that's money that I would spend to. Or that's a jersey I would spend money to get.
Yeah, that's a great jersey.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I bounced a basketball behind my back off of the garage door growing up.
Right. Trying to do that elbow pass.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. For you youngsters out there, YouTube Jason Williams White Chocolate highlights right now and have fun.
Oh my God.
He was a high school basketball teammates with Randy Moss.
I didn't know that.
They were amazing.
Yeah. And they're still boys.
They're still boys.
Yeah.
They're just, boys from West Virginia, just country boys.
Do you think that Randy
Jason Williams went to Florida?
Jason Williams went to Florida,
Do you think Randy gave him the White Chocolate nickname? It feels like a Randy Moss thing.
I think White Chocolate may have been his legal name when he was born. And then a few years down the road, they're like, we need to give him something real. Just call him Jason Williams. But no, I think that's a good theory. We should check in. Let's Randy Moss and Jason Williams come on the pod.
Yeah, come on the pod.
We can find a loose Oregon State connection somehow.
I'll find one. You guys played football and basketball. We have those sports at Oregon State. Let's talk. White guys, plenty of those here.
Yeah, plenty of those.
Oh, Jason Williams did play for Marshall for 1 year, the 95-96.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have overlapped. Wait, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about Jason Williams and Randy Moss off air because we need to get to the meat of this episode. But let's toast to Jason Williams, I guess.
Yeah.
White chocolate.
Yeah. Someone needs to make a white chocolate beer.
So yes, do you need to do a collaborative white chocolate beer? One of you great breweries down in Sacktown should do it. I don't know what kind of terms Jason Williams is on with the Kings franchise these days, but
I
hope they're good.
A brewery that has an Oregon State alum, a real one that's that is heading the charge.
Yeah. That would be, just reach out to Jason Williams' people and be like, we love Jason Williams. Can we make a beer in his name in honor of him?
Yeah. This is a great idea.
Easy.
Who do we have to pitch for it? Block 15.
Block 15 and Jason Williams. match made in heaven. Let's go.
They call it Choco 50, White Choco 55.
Oh, yeah.
White Choco 55. Perfect.
I know.
We should just be running breweries here.
Okay, pivot. We're just running breweries now. No more podcasts.
Speaking of matches made in heaven, Taliese Fuaga and the New Orleans Saints, who made our boy Tali the highest drafted Oregon State player at the number 14 overall pick since Terry Baker went number 1 in 1963.
Ooh,
so long time. Before that, it was Brandon Cooks going 20th in 2014. Also to the Saints. They shared a great footage of Fuaga with his entire family watching the draft over on Oahu. The Saints draft room was like pretty excited when it happened as well. So yeah, really excited about Fuaga, and something I just want to highlight as we're looking at this through an Oregon State lens. We'll talk a little bit about his fit. None of us are O-line savants, but I for sure have some thoughts. But in the interview, after he was drafted, he was saying he was obviously overjoyed, showing a lot of emotion. He wasn't the type of player who was prone to a lot of emotion, at least off the field when he was at Oregon State, but said a lot of, just really exciting things. It was great to see him, just feeling that happy with his dreams coming true, but also said Oregon State was one of the best things he's ever done in his life. Going there is one of the best decisions that he ever made. He had a lot of high praise for Andy Levitre and Isaac Seumalo, former Oregon State linemen. And I just wanted to point that out. One, to say congratulations, but also thank you to Tali. During a time where a lot of, we'll say, less than encouraging statements are coming out by people who are either part of the programs, used to be part of the programs, covering the programs or whatever. I want to be sure that we celebrate Tali for saying just everything that I think we've been wanting to hear from a big Oregon State public figure. That felt really good to me for my own selfish reasons, but also Tali is just such a good dude. So seeing him go that high in the draft with that shot of his whole family just like keeps, giving me goosebumps. Awesome night for Oregon State football.
Yeah, I love what he said. I mean, there's something about having a person that's gone completely through it and is as highly touted as he was entering the draft, talk about their experience positively. There was no like, I would have gone, top 7 if I had transferred to an ACC school or otherwise. It was very much just like, it's the best thing I ever did. And I think anyone reading that could tell, like, there was ulterior motive in a good way for why he was making sure that he pointed that out, because I feel like, you as an alum or as somebody that has moved on from Oregon State in some fashion, your identity then isn't anything you can control anymore, right? And so, especially as a football player or any athlete, where your public identity of what you affiliate with as Oregon State University feels slightly in your control, right? Because you're on TV, you're representing the university in sports, and there's something you can do about it, right? If you don't like it, the image or the perception, you feel in control to change it. But I think even that is a little bit of a false narrative, clearly. And when you leave, though, then you really do realize, like, there's nothing I can do myself really to, like, just change the perception of the public's, like, opinion on Oregon State. And now it's in the hands of just the public and the people still there. And I think his comments were almost a reflection of that, right? Like, hey, hear me out one more time. Like, this was the best thing I ever did. Like, I wouldn't be here without the people who paved the way before me. I owe it all to them. It was the best thing in my life. And I mean, maybe that's parting words in a way, but I also think that that's like, something we needed right now.
Well, yeah, and he could have, like almost every other player drafted, not say anything.
He was not baited into that. Like, it wasn't like anything left for Oregon State, Tali. He just organically brought it up. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like he could have been more specific about a specific coach or a particular part. He shouted out Mikhailchuk, but since he's not one of us anymore, I just omitted that.
Right, but I'm saying, like, he said Oregon State is the best thing.
Yeah,
or the best decision.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where you're going. Yeah.
Right. And so I do think that, I don't know, maybe this is looking through orange colored lenses, but if you are a player, a high school senior or someone in the portal that's looking for a place to go, and you have the number 14 draft pick in the NFL draft saying, hey, going to this specific school was the best decision I ever made. And I think that points more towards, like, culture of both the university and the program than it does of any specific coach that may have moved on.
Right.
So, I really appreciate him saying that. I think it does come from the bottom of his heart, but again, something that he didn't need to say. And in a year that we've been just getting beat down, it even if it doesn't change anybody's decision on coming to Oregon State, it meant a lot.
Right. Well, on the flip side, real quick, it wasn't like there. I mean, I don't know what I'm sure Tali made a little bit of coin with NIL, but the market for NIL and offensive lineman, no matter how highly touted you are, probably isn't very high, right? Yeah. Like, you're not getting the recognition for the most part on the field for all the hard, dirty work you're doing, let alone commercially. So I think it reignites in me why I believe that Oregon State's going to come out okay. Once you lose, if you can lose that viewpoint of I'm going somewhere to get my bag, then and you're trying to go somewhere that has a great culture, that has a great community, that is a beautiful campus, and a honestly once in a lifetime experience for most people to be able to live in a place like Corvallis, Oregon. I mean, that resonated with me when he was talking about all this, because it wasn't like he was like, it was the best decision I ever made because Damn Nation Collective showered me with cash and hooked up a bunch of opportunities for NIL. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was on their roster, but like this was like a very, very organic. No, I just loved being here, and we had a change of guard with the football program that I was involved with, but like you guys said, he didn't shout out coaches really. Head coaches. It wasn't like he was saying, I'm so glad I went to Oregon State to play for XYZ. It was clearly, I'm so happy I went to this school for everything that it encompassed, not just to play for a certain coach.
Yeah. And in him mentioning Andy Levitri and Isaac Seumalo as well, two guys who have had very successful NFL careers as O-linemen and done so, recently and currently in Isaac's case, was very, meaningful for how I read it. Like, he's not just saying like, oh, these are like nice parting words, whatever. He's, pointing out like the culture that we stand on in developing offensive linemen at Oregon State. And and kind of saying not saying this directly, but like I shouldn't be the highest drafted Beaver since 1963. Like there should have been other guys who went 14 or higher before me, and I think that is something that you can't really pay anyone to say. Like it would be great if we could gather all the very successful Pro Beavs and just be like, hey, like here's some talking points. Can you like mention Oregon State right now while we're going through this tough time? And I know a bunch of them are happy to do it, but they've got their own careers and things going on, and it's no one person's responsibility to try and, you know, get us through this. But all of that press is great press. So for him to say that, I was just really happy for that to come out of his mouth. And he was at the Senior Bowl. He was talked about getting to put the Beaver helmet on for a bunch of people and represent for the program that gave him that shot, and for everyone who he had played with, everyone who came before, everyone will come after. He was very, very proud of that. And that week too, it was great to see him and that Beaver decal on his head as he really got the best of UCLA edge rusher Letu Latu in practice, who coincidentally went with the next pick. So he did pretty great against the top edge rusher drafted in this year's draft, both in the regular season matchup and in one-on-ones in Mobile. So great for Tali. I'll be very interested to see how New Orleans uses him. He's primarily played right tackle, but a lot of scouts and just draft personnel think he could play pretty much everything. I'm sure he could play center. I don't know if you want him at center given how amazing he could be elsewhere, but right tackle is pretty much the only thing that Saints kind of have figured out with Ryan Ramczyk. So I think they might envision him on the left. So that'll be a challenge for him, but one that I definitely think he can be successful with. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him.
I got a question for you, Terry, because, I mean, obviously you had brought it up, and it was obvious in your recordings with your interviews in the media scrum, but any New York team has plenty of media behind them.
Right.
And it sounded like there was a ton of chatter for him to the Jets.
Yeah.
And that never really quieted down either. I mean, it was very much like that is a very, very likely outcome of the draft, is that one, the Jets are going to take somebody on the offensive line, and two, it looks like it could be Taliese Fuaga. And they did take somebody on the line, and it wasn't Tali. So I'm curious, like, why do you think he didn't go 3 picks earlier?
I don't know. I think he should have gone because he was listed as pretty much the best tackle in the draft outside of Joe Alt. I think he does a lot of things that Alt doesn't do as well. I think part of that may have been the Jets having Olu Fashanu as their number one all along, and maybe trying to just do pointless smoke signals. Like, you're going to have your choice at that point. But I kind of thought the Jets were going to go off of that and maybe try and get either a receiver or maybe Brock Bowers, because they feel desperate to give Aaron Rodgers more weapons. But they added some more help in offensive line and free agency, and which was after the Senior Bowl. But yeah, it kind of felt like there's certainly a lot of New York media members who were gassing it up, but I don't know what their sources are.
Well, they were definitely chasing the scent. I mean, there was some reason why they were crowded around him, but yeah, I mean, whatever. Like,
part of it, that part of that's just like the draft is, this massive poker game that, no one ever really is completely telling the truth. No one really shows their full hand and keeps things close to the vest. I don't know why they thought Olu would be a better fit. I mean, I think they brought Tyron Smith in from Dallas, who is in the twilight of his career, but is a fantastic left tackle. And Tali, who primarily played on the right, I think it would make more sense to get someone who's on the right side of that bookend. And maybe they foresee Olu there. They also signed a couple other tackles in free agency, so maybe they think of Olu as more of a project guy with a higher ceiling. I don't know, but there was certainly a lot of smoke, green and white smoke, for Tali to be a Jet. But I think I chalked that up to most like just the draft being the draft and no one really telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, Tali can broad jump 2 inches further than Olu, so take that.
Take that.
Yeah.
And also, you don't want to play with Aaron Rodgers. And New Orleans is a great city.
That is true.
So,
I know. If I had to pick, I just like relocation wise, if it's like you can move to New York or you can move to New Orleans.
The weather's better, the food's better. And he mentioned it, I think, too. He's like, I haven't had a ton of New Orleans food or Cajun food before, but I do like a lot of spice.
He did call it New Orleans.
So. That works.
Oh,
you can call it New Orleans.
Uh-oh.
You can call it New Orleans. You just can't call it Nolans. Unless you're from there. You can call it Nolans if you're from Louisiana. So best of luck, Tali. He will be fantastic. We have no doubt. I really like the fits for the other two guys who were called during the draft. We'll start with Anthony Gould because we'll go chronologically, going to the Colts in the 5th round. I've been seeing some smoke now that he's slotted in as maybe the in-house favorite to be the main punt returner as a rookie, which will give us all kinds of highlights. There's also just targets to be had in Indy. They did a great job with Josh Downs as the rookie wide receiver last year, who's like maybe a little bit bigger than Ant, but shows they just kind of that offense. Offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter, by the way, another great name.
That's such a great name.
So many great names. It's New Orleans who won the name draft. But
I feel like his dad had an accent, and I imagine the accent in my head is absolutely spot on.
Last name's Cooter. We call our son Jim Bob.
Yep.
So, he'll have to earn those targets right away. I don't know how quickly he'll see the field, but that's going to be an exciting offense, especially if Anthony Richardson stays healthy. But him going somewhere, because Downs returned punts for them as a rookie and is now their clearly top 2 receiver, and you generally don't have your top 2 receivers returning punts. But so that could just be Gould's spot like right away. And they showed his punt return highlights during the draft. They talked about his speed. Like, I think this could be a really, really good fit for him.
What are the new rules? Because they kept on talking about with the new rules, he could really, really benefit.
The kickoff is new. The kickoff is, if you watch the XFL, it's the exact same thing.
It's going to look so weird.
Which will look really weird. So it's now,
it's like a standing start, essentially.
It's a standing start. So they're kicking from, the kicker is kicking from the same distance. But the kicking team, the other 10 members of the kicking team, tasked with stopping the return, are lining up further down the field. And there's 10 yards in between. They're all lined up 10 yards across from the receiving team. I think you can be lined up more yards, but you also can't move until the returner has touched the ball. So you'll see the ball in the air and it will go over everyone on the return team and the receiving team, and they'll just be stationary. Which, as an effort to increase returns, like the number of returns, because there's something like comical last year of like there's less than a kick return per game in the league. So hopefully that works. If he gets the punt return and the kick return nod, that would be exciting. It'll look weird. That'll be something we need to adjust to, unless you're a real football sicko out there and have just grinded all kinds of XFL and UFL tape, in which case I salute you. So yeah, we'll get to see that, and I think that will be exciting. Just a chance for him to put electric plays on tape, and then when you do that, that's a pathway to getting more playing time in the top 3 receiving unit.
Yeah, you essentially get like a 20-yard head start getting your speed, getting up to speed as a returner, because no one's moving, and if you catch the ball between the 10-yard line and the end zone, then they're all lined up at the 35 or whatever. So
it's like 35 and 20, something like that.
So
games will be more exciting too.
Yeah, and you'll start to see people actually try to make a return, as Terry was saying. But Anthony did say when report came out last month, the end of March, about the new kickoff rule. He wrote, mind blown emoji or exploding head emoji, and then might go yayo with this. LOL was his tweet.
That should be the name of the episode.
Yeah.
Yo, do they get to wear those big puffy helmets next year too? Is that a next year thing?
To. Yeah.
Oh my god,
that's gonna be
gonna look like bobbleheads
when the big head cheat code was turned on in NFL Blitz 2000.
Yeah.
Right. But also, I'm 99% sure that punt and punt return rules are not changing at all.
Yeah,
even though those are
what about
arguably just
how are you gonna have a fake? How are you gonna have a fake kick?
You have to like you have to declare that you're doing an onside kick.
Yeah, it's so dumb though. Like, there's gonna be no surprise onsides then.
I think they've essentially taken the surprise onside out, and I think that was just maybe thinking that people don't do it enough to try and protect it, because I think even a majority of onside kicks was when they lined up, which in a way that clearly said we're going onsides. So maybe the NFL was just like, we can just let that thing die, but also just because it doesn't happen a lot doesn't mean it's not a good possibility to have there.
It used to be like very common, or much more common than now.
Right. Like a few times a year they do it out of like the second half kickoff when you could catch a team off guard and sort of steal a possession. Like the Saints in that Super Bowl they won.
Or like John, the other guy that we won't name, tried to do last year, and
John,
fucking
the
failed.
Other guy we won't name. I like that you started to say that, and mid-sentence we're like, fuck him. That's great. John, the other guy we won't name. Just that's not Jonathan anymore. It's John the other.
John the other thin.
Yeah,
John the other thing.
The NFL was, even though it's college football, the NFL looked at that attempt and was just like, we can't let anyone do this again. This is getting too embarrassing. God damn it, Oregon State.
Quick, before John the other thing gets to the NFL.
John the other. But we love where Gould goes. And I mean,
sorry, you have to talk about it.
I have to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the best conversation I had at the Senior Bowl was off the record with Catan, where we were just chatting. And I'd asked him if he grew up a Seahawks fan, local, kid growing up in Oregon. And he said, no, I was a Packer fan. And this was just after we had talked about the Vikings for a little bit, because I asked him, hey, man, I don't have a dog here, but have you had any meetings with the Vikings yet? And he was like, not yet. They are my coaches. So I'm getting some FaceTime with the Vikings. And then he revealed to me that he grew up a Packers fan because of Favre, which just...
Well, at the time, was...
At the time, fine. It was... I couldn't blame someone. I mean, I could. for personal, selfish reasons. Favre put a lot of people under his charm as a gunslinger for the Packers. And he did say, I mean, he was like, loving Favre didn't really age well. So I've mostly just watched the whole league like recently. And he said he had a good meeting with the Niners too. So I was hoping that like he would maybe go to you guys and then you could get to whatever. I don't like the Packers. Shout out our listeners, Dr. Chris Johnson, my former editor-in-chief at the Barometer, Nick Lilia. I know how happy you two are. My parents are already giving me shit. They're in fucking London, texting me from London during the draft. My dad going like, we got Dapo. And I'm like, shut up, Dad. My parents are Packer fans, for any of you who are new here. Anyway, the fit is perfect. After I saw it, I was just like, no, why? No, this keeps happening. Catan Oladapo, Luke Musgrave, Sean Mannion is there. And then I thought about it, and I was like, and he's going to be good in their system too. He fits so well. They lost Darnell Savage, who had been a great safety for them. They also brought in a number of defensive backs, so it'll be, a crowded defensive backfield. But him kind of being a rover, he's said, he proudly said he's the most versatile safety in the draft, and he'll get a lot of chances to show that versatility in Green Bay. So, Catan, congrats. Please take it easy on the Vikings. Other than that, I do want you to ball out. Yes.
So I was thinking, I'm not surprised that Catan liked the Packers. I mean, obviously Favre was everywhere at a time when TV was just starting to build like the more broader sense of like the sports celebrity, beyond like
he was
Jordan. They did the Elway path, and then they did the Favre stuff, and I was thinking he was also like the cover athlete for Quarterback Club 98, 99, whatever.
And then Madden later. Yeah.
And then Madden later. And I was like, he was the cover athlete. I think it was QB Club 98 and QB Club 99, like back-to-back years.
Yep.
I was like, maybe Catan played that when he was little. And then I just realized he was born in 2000.
Yeah, Catan Oladapo was not. He still could have played it, I guess. Like, their Nintendo 64s are out there, but yeah, Quarterback Club 98, I don't think was a birthday present for Catan. Definitely not the year it came out, as he wasn't alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Favre celebrity, man. He was everywhere. So, like, there just are Packer fans everywhere. It's really, really annoying, and you don't deserve Catan Oladapo. But take care of him, please. If you harm a single orange or bright purple hair on his head, it probably won't be purple anymore. I will ruin all of you. He is too good for this world. But yeah, Catan also in the 5th round. He's gonna be so good. He's gonna be so good there.
Yeah. I'm bummed that no Niners or no Beavers players, either undrafted free agent or drafted, went to the 49ers this year. I mean, the Jack Coletto signing last year just felt so perfect.
I know.
Something about it made me so excited because I'm thinking, oh, he's the heir apparent for Juice. It is a match made in heaven. I can't wait for him to make his debut in the red and gold, and then it never came to fruition, which is honestly, that is the normal path for an undrafted free agent, is to sign a practice squad contract somewhere and then end up showcasing enough to move somewhere that actually has a roster space for them. So
where is he now?
It was with Pittsburgh. I don't know if that was just through this year though.
He does seem like a Pittsburgh guy too.
He does,
He does. The jackhammer.
Yeah. Bring the jackhammer to the Steel City. It's probably not a great tool to use with steel, but for Jack Coletto, it is.
With this kind of jackhammer, it'll work. Of this crop, we saw Chatfield get an invite to Kansas City Chiefs rookie camp. I'm really surprised he didn't get a proper UDFA.
Dude, I know.
I don't really know how to explain it.
There wasn't any like real smoke that I saw with Chatfield being selected in the draft, which I thought was weird to begin with. I mean, he on a lot of snaps, he was the most dominant player on the field, like a lot of snaps.
Yeah. I think it's sort of crazy to look at Andrew Chatfield Jr. and say the words too small, but I think people in NFL circles just wishes he was a little bit bigger and just maybe have some size concerns. And I will replay that sentence in my head as I revisit the photo of you, the happiest man in the world, getting dapped up by Andrew Chatfield Jr. on the field at Providence Park and be like, yeah,
he is not small.
He's not small. So yeah, best of luck to him though. I think of the UDFA deals that we do know about now, I think anytime you're defensive back playing in Baltimore, it's a good chance.
Yeah.
And so I think Ryan Cooper Jr., it'll be an uphill battle for him for sure. But I think, they say like the advantage when you are an undrafted free agent being end of 7th round is you get to choose where you go and you have some agency. And I don't have confirmation on this, but I'm damn certain that wasn't his only offer. So that shows some pretty good smarts by him and his camp to go to essentially the DBU of the NFL a little bit. Just guys, going in the Hall of Fame left and right, who've played in the defensive backfield for Baltimore. So I think that'll be a good fit for him. And hopefully he plays his way into that defense, which is always good, or he does enough to get a proper roster spot elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think that like Fenwick's got a nice path with New England.
Yeah. Fenwick and Alex Austin in New England.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's okay to like the Patriots now because they're probably going to be bad, and there's no holdovers from that champ. So if you're a person who I know JP's a big Brady guy, as they were buddies at Sarah High School in San Francisco
back in the day. Yeah,
really back in the day. It's crazy that we just referenced Catano Ladapo being born after Quarterback Club 98 came out, and now talking about Tom Brady, who went to your high school but several years earlier than you did.
6.
So see, I think 6 counts as several. We're still young. We're 6 whole years younger than Tom Brady.
Well, no, I'm like 10 years younger, but he was there 6 years before
We're
I
a decade
became a
younger than
freshman.
Tom Brady. We could win a Super Bowl or two. It's not too late.
It's not
So
too late.
did it go Barry Bonds, Tom Brady,
JP Bertram?
JP Bertram.
Yeah, but you also forgot Lynn Swan and Greg Jeffries.
Oh, wasn't there a baseball player?
Yeah, Greg
Like
Jeffries.
Nick DeSalso?
No, Daniel Descalso. He went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I went to grade school with Descalso.
Oh, got it.
But yeah,
And JP Bertram, not to be confused with JD
Bertrand.
JD Bertrand.
Yeah.
Who I'm still mad at for the role he played in Notre Dame beating us in the Sun Bowl. But yeah, Fenwick, because I mean, Ezekiel Elliott's not going to be in New England anymore, and they were pretty expected to take a quarterback at number 3, but also it was like they can literally just draft whoever they want because they've got nobody other than Alex Austin, of course. So path to playing time and eating it up. Deshaun Fenwick will be picked up in at least one fantasy league that we're not playing in this year. I will say that.
Yeah,
he'll get picked up.
Well, running backs too. They're probably the most likely to jump from practice squad to getting a shot.
Yeah,
I mean in general, because the shelf life of a running back in the NFL is so small,
right?
And there are times where teams just get bit hard with the injury bug through their entire backfield, and they have to dig deep into whatever availability they have for getting somebody out there. And to be honest, like, it's the NFL. Your offensive line might be the best that, like, the worst player on your offensive line is the best player that you've ever had blocking for you prior to you getting there. And anyone, I think, not anyone, but like you could make somebody at least temporarily have a decent look and look good doing that. It's just the way the NFL is built.
Yeah. And they platoon guys more in the running back position, so teams generally just need more of them available on any random game day. So ball out, Fen.
Hell yeah.
Just remember that dope run you had against Stanford that we watched thousands of times until the sun came up the next day. Just do that. Keep doing that and you'll be fine.
Do you guys think that there's been a better single play? No outside implications, just
the play itself. I love these conversations because it's like you have to take everything out. Like it doesn't like meaning of the play itself, score matters because it could be. It genuinely could be the best in Oregon State history, football history, human history of human movement.
Galactical history, for sure.
Yeah, the head of steam downhill hurdle into a back-facing stiff arm while still moving forward shouldn't be physically possible. And Fen made it look like just a simple click of the Y button or the triangle button or whatever the console of your choice is. Now we're talking about video games again. I'm sorry.
GTA 6. When does that come out?
GTA 6. Yeah. Deshaun, please help GTA 6 come out earlier. Oh, man. The only thing I have on football is we found out Matthias Malachi Donaldson entered the transfer portal right before we got on. A bit of a highly touted recruit when he came on. Hadn't busted through much. And what's frustrating with the transfer portal now is you have no idea. You have some idea, but there used to just be like people who could enter the transfer portal without ruffling any feathers. Because it was like, oh, I'm not going to play at all. Yeah. So I'm going to go somewhere where I can play. And you never really blame anyone for that. Like people people sign college football commitments to play college football. So I kind of feel like this might be what that is. Like it got to the end of spring and Matthias wasn't as high on the depth chart, but he gave us a nice few shout outs. I remember early on when we signed, it was early on in the days of this podcast. I think he came on in spaces or two. Always appreciated his openness. Had some serious style too. Always love a pass rusher who takes their helmet off and their hair just expands like 10 layers beyond their helmet. So had high hopes for him. Sad to see him go, but I think we do need to attempt to look at transfers in this day and age in the same case by case basis and not hate Matthias because everyone else seems to be transferring.
So
just I think this might be a depth chart issue. Sorry.
100%. And I think that's what you're going to see with the spring transfer portal. Damian Martinez, I think, is what would cloud the judgment of a lot of Beaver fans.
Who has committed to the Miami since the last time we talked.
Right. And I think that that was just such a unique circumstance. I think players that transfer in spring are not chasing NIL money or getting offered more NIL money or a better chance at other schools. I truly think that there's probably a conversation with him where they're saying, hey, you're going to have to wait another year.
Yeah, this time of the year.
You're just not going to get, a lot of playing
At this time of the year, that's what these transfers all are. And this was what it's always been. And the impact felt easier as a fan because, it used to be that transfers were because people didn't get playing time. But it also was easier to swallow because, selfishly, before it became that eligibility was immediate, you were kind of like, good luck. Maybe I'll recognize your name getting called in like 2 years from now when you have to sit out a year. It was a big decision. Yeah. So that part of it's gone, of course. And so people are paying a lot more closer attention because they don't like reliving heartbreak. And so you don't want to see somebody playing immediately in the next year that you were rooting for before, but now you have to root against or just don't like rooting for any further. But this spring transfer portal is the traditional portal. It is the people who have had that tough conversation with coach or their position coach and have been told, look, I'm sure most of these coaches tell them, like, I think you should look for other opportunities because you only have so much time left to play football. You're not going to be playing it here during that time for the most part. And if I care about you as a person, which I think Bray does, for example, I think it's worthwhile to go look to see what opportunities you have. And that is a positive of the portal. I get it. Like, look, I would be the first to sign up to never play football for a program that paid for my tuition and let me like wear a cool jacket with a block O on it and a football on it or whatever. But that isn't how athletes operate these days. Like that isn't enough. And maybe it shouldn't be. Probably it shouldn't be because of how much money they generate and how much they put their well-being on the line while juggling to stay eligible as students as well. Plus, the average standard college social scene. But it is the way of the world right now. And I think that, I think when it comes to this time of the year, don't let yourself get jaded because, we lost our starting running back to the portal this time of the year. I think to be frank, I think we lost him at this time of the year because of the structure of his NIL deals. Not to say that was the intent, but it was delayed at least until this point because commitments weren't to be paid until this point. Not saying that it wasn't the right choice for anybody to do this, but I mean, if you think about it, even from, for example, Damien's perspective,
with it being
he transfers late, but if he did the work earlier, he wasn't getting paid until now anyway. So
yeah,
it's financially motivating for him to stick around and get the money he had earned. So it is just it's the way of the world. But I don't think that it's gonna be very common. Spring transfers, wish them well, root for them if you want to. Please don't bring any negativity to this because it's a very, very standard and different scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
And in Matthias's case too, we talked about this last week, and I haven't done the deep dive to see all the different pass rushers who may be ahead of him on the depth chart. We got to see a lot of young guys show out in the Sun Bowl at the end of the year too. But I think a thing that was clear in the spring game was that, Barnes keeps saying we're going to fund this program like a Power 5 program. That defense still looks like a Power 5 program defense. And so there's a lot of dudes on that D, and weird time to take a breath, Terry. God damn
it. Okay, keep going. There was a lot of dudes on the D.
And competition for snaps will be difficult. So I didn't keep the sexual innuendo going. That was totally unintentional, by the way. I'm so sorry. Let's talk about baseball. Let's talk baseball.
Can I? Sorry, I'm gonna go rogue here.
You can go rogue. Benny is my favorite Benny.
So this will not take. I don't want this to take any more than 10 minutes because
that means it's going to take like 30, but go for it.
So there was, I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's been smoke, I think, generated a lot by
you
Beaver fans.
Oh,
but it did come from a source that was not related to Oregon State. And that is that Oregon State and Scott Barnes has alluded to in some ways that there may be things going on behind closed doors of looking at potential lawsuits against ESPN and potentially the Big 12. And I just wanted to dissect that.
So we're not talking about baseball. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We will. So this is all stemming from a letter that the Big 12 sent to ESPN after Texas and Oklahoma declared that they were going to leave for the SEC. I'm not going to read the entire letter, but it, in a sense, is saying that ESPN was tampering and was causing the potential destruction of the Big 12. There's a part in here that I do want to read. And again, this is from the commissioner of the Big 12 to ESPN. The section starts with, further, as you know, Section 20.2 of the amended and restated agreement between the Big 12 Conference and ESPN, the quote telecast agreement, states that ESPN will not quote take any actions likely to impair or that are inconsistent with the rights conference has acquired under this agreement. ESPN acknowledges that conference's rights herein are valuable, specific, and unique. ESPN's recent actions also violate, at a minimum, Section 20.2 of the telecast agreement. So that, of course, doesn't relate to the Pac-12 because that is an agreement between the Big 12 and ESPN. The assumption, I think, that is valid, but it is an assumption.
Well, they did have that Pac-12 after dark slot, so that could hold up in court as part of the telecast agreement.
Oh yeah, well, and it has been reported that ESPN and the Pac-12 did have a telecast agreement. It's just uncertain if that specific terminology was in there, but one would guess like this is essentially saying if ESPN does anything that impairs the conference in any way, then that's violating the contract. And that has to exist in the telecast agreement with the Pac-12. And so there's there is I think to us clear, it's ESPN clearly was tampering with this. But So I was digging into this, and ESPN came back with a response. And they said the accusations you have made are entirely without merit, apart from a single vague allegation that ESPN has been, quote, actively engaged in discussions with at least one other unnamed conference, which ESPN disputes.
Methinks I have an idea which conference that may be.
Yeah, right. So essentially ESPN's coming back and saying, like, you have absolutely no proof of what you're saying, which means that what they're saying, if true, does violate the contract. And I think that is acknowledged by ESPN's response here. So where the sticking point is and why this is relevant to Oregon State is because in every single instance of a school realigning to another conference, they are not getting money to do so. They are not receiving direct financial backing to do so. Now, in some cases, ESPN and Fox are paying for the relocation fee or the conference exit fee, but those funds will be taken out of the media rights agreement in increments throughout the next several years. So that's essentially just delaying payment. It's not paying for them. Colorado was paid $2.5 million to join the Big 12. That's not money that's going to be taken out of future revenue. That was a lump sum payment to Colorado.
To deflect.
Right. And so the argument that's being made is that ESPN through the Big 12 paid Colorado to leave the Pac-12
to get the Big 12 to shut up.
Maybe, but essentially to bolster up the Big 12 and make the Big 12's not media contract, but make the Big 12 a bigger brand so that people will tune in because ESPN owns the rights to broadcast their games.
Or them saying, you've got us, don't worry, we'll make sure you don't completely go away. You'll be second, third, fourth fiddle or whatever. But
and I think
we'll give you Colorado and
and at the time, Colorado is a huge brand, right? Deion Sanders just got there. They're blowing up. But I think bigger than that, they knew if Colorado left, the dominoes were going to fall. And they knew more teams were going to join the Big 12, thus making it a more there being more interest in the Big 12 and increasing the brand's profile. There are a couple other things in here. There's an agreement that schools sign with the conference. So each school has a specific agreement that is signed that ties them to the conference. And there's a part in these agreements that discusses tampering. And in all cases, and this is across the board, schools relocating, like University of Cincinnati relocating into the Big 12, Oregon going to the Big 10. In every single case, the tampering agreement states exactly the same thing, which is that the conference didn't reach out to the schools, that the schools reached out to the conference. And that's important because if the conferences are reaching out to schools, then that is tampering. And so essentially what they found is that Utah and Arizona State's parts of that section are worded in a way that it doesn't clearly state that the conference didn't reach out to those two schools, which isn't proof by any stretch, but it would certainly indicate that the circumstances around those two schools joining the Big 12 or that conversation starting could have been started by the Big 12. And all of this is, I think, the opinion of this writer and the opinion of myself, I think probably the Beaver fan too, is that ESPN is really the ones that are pulling the strings and they're doing this through the Big 12. So I think where we stand right now is there's a lot of assumptions that are being made right now. But what it comes down to is if it can be proven that ESPN funneled money through the Big 12 to entice Colorado to come to the Big 12 unprompted, there are grounds for litigation. I I personally don't think it's going to happen. I think that you have to, like, they would have to sequester documents from communication between ESPN and the Big 12. And in order to do that, I think you have to have evidence, which I don't think is
and not
there.
their public universities. You could probably ask for public records. I'm sure there's some redaction involved, but you can request public records.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. I think you'd have to look to see how they got the communication between the Pac-12 presidents, because that was a big part of OSU and Wazoo winning the case against the traitorous 10. But yeah, I think if they can prove that, then that goes clearly against the contract. And I don't know what the repercussions of that are, but I do think it's important to bring up because there is smoke there.
Well, for ESPN, there are no repercussions. I think that's the problem. Yeah. I mean, it's a monopoly on athletics.
But it's not because if the telecast agreement with the Pac-12 is in any way, shape, or form similar to the telecast agreement with the Big 12, then that would that is stating that ESPN cannot do anything that would impair the conference, and giving Colorado $2.5 million to leave the conference would be violating that part of the contract.
But the one part I don't know, maybe there is an answer, maybe you know the answer, but when the Big 12 threatened to sue ESPN in an attempt to like save their conference, that was settled, right? So there's no precedence of it being like a court order that the Pac-12 could follow. I agree that it might lead a nice paper trail back to ESPN's involvement with pure evidence. But I just don't know what that ramification could be, if anything, because ESPN has a lot of other schools, not just, the traitorous 10 that it's serving. So
so the letter to ESPN from the Big 12 was a cease and desist, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you had Central Florida, Cincinnati, Houston, and Louisville, BYU go to the Big 12 the very next year. So I see what you're saying. Like there isn't anything that was done after that, but I just don't know. I think that ESPN probably had their hand in getting those 4 other teams who joined the conference and saying, "Hey, like, are we good?"
Yeah, I mean, I felt that was the case, and we'll see if there's any legal weight behind any of these claims. Not your claims, but what people are insinuating about the tampering charges with ESPN and the Big 12. But I feel like the speed of which college athletics and sports in general are changing, this will be too hard to keep up with.
ESPN would just tie it up in like years worth of bureaucracy,
right,
before anything moves.
And by then they're going to be out of college athletics in the sense we know it now, because they'll just be running their own college affiliated
junior
league.
Pro.
Yeah.
Benny, where was this article published? So we can reference listeners who haven't read it yet.
It was a series of tweets. I'll need to go back and check.
There's a Substack post by Bill Farley. And
that's who it is.
Yeah,
Bill Farley. Okay,
Bill Farley. Yeah.
Yeah. It lays it all out, but check it out. Bill Farley, Oregon State alum, USC alum, VCU alum, and obviously he has some legal background in a way, because he helped negotiate deals to keep the Kings in Sacramento. Shout out to White Chocolate again.
Yeah. Hey, there's the affiliation and the connection.
Yeah, Bill Farley
we found
is Bill Farley is the connection, and he also helped them finance their AAA stadium for baseball. So,
nice. So it's at Bill Farley Farley spelled Farley, at Bill Farley PhD on Twitter, who has changed his main. That's the handle. The Twitter name is Bill is following the money, and
that's right,
man. Yeah, he's been in this kind of sports litigation before, so it's not like this is one of us just like trying to cling at whatever straw we can grasp or whatever. Like, this, seems to be pretty well researched stuff, and
it's something to keep.
Someone who knows what they're talking about. I think it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
It's not over.
Yeah,
it is not over.
And we want, and like we said, I think
just like this episode's not over.
2 weeks ago, this episode's not over. Will it ever be over? Probably not. We want Scott and Murthy and the whole university to fight in every way possible, and we mean that in like every way possible. There's small creative gestures, petty gestures that we talked about as well, but we also want them to go big game hunting too.
Yeah.
And if there is anything tangible here and you're getting good, sound legal advice from accomplished lawyers, in this case, a lawyer who kept the Kings in Sacramento, that's a call you pick up immediately and at least see what's there. It's not like you can force a reversal of all of this, but you can fight that war with ESPN. You can fight fighting a war with ESPN isn't a terrible idea, because like I mentioned, they're part of that area who like already took everything away. The people who can help you at ESPN are public facing figures who have already like kind of won public battles with ESPN. And I think you're kind of threading a very unique needle by fighting this litigation, trying to also win in the court of public opinion, and also manipulating or just taking advantage of relationships you've already built across the landscape now, many of whom exist within ESPN. But a lot of people who work at ESPN also don't love their bosses. That's really well documented. So I don't think it's too risky.
And I think the end game here would be to force ESPN's hand into forcing the Big 12 to accept you. I think that is the end game. You say, hey, we'll make this go away. Just admit us to the Big 12. That's the gameplay.
Well, they'll do that when it's financially feasible for themselves to do so, when there is a super conference that has its own league. And then they're like, sure, we'll rebuild college football. Come on in.
That could very well be the end game. But just thinking about that, in the short term, that's a conference that I think would be fun to play football in, extremely fun to play basketball in, and also one that the baseball team would fucking win in and win a lot in.
Fucking segue.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. Dudes on that D. In this case, the defense was on a baseball field, because Oregon State did a great job stymieing the Oregon Ducks, who are the second best offense in the Pac-12 behind your Oregon State Beavers. And it wasn't a clean sweep, which I think everyone would have loved, obviously, after last week's kind of just doom scroll. If doom scrolling was a single baseball series, it was our 0-3 sweep at Cal. They came back, they beat Portland in Hillsborough, and then took 2 out of 3 from the Ducks with just a banger of a statement from staff ace Aiden May on Friday night.
Yes.
And Komatz added his own shining pitching performance on Saturday. The offense was quieter than we expect it to be. Mm-hmm. But that's one of those things that's like baseball. Like, you cannot convince me to be worried about the Oregon State bats. They just need to wake up, get some more rum for Joe Boo, get Pedro Serrano in there doing rituals, and the bats will wake up just fine. I think you needed to see pitching that you could believe in, and on Friday and Saturday you got it. Goss was lit.
Yes, was.
May and Komatz obviously should get a ton of shine here, but there is some intense, very rivalry moments in this, especially on Friday night. Aiden May is cruising. I believe it was going into the 6th inning when Oregon's manager, Mark Wasikowski, hope I'm pronouncing that right.
No, you
Please
don't.
correct me, Mark.
was not going to have a job.
Was Kowski, was contemplating doing something stupid, and he did it by asking the ump to inspect Aiden May's glove because he was pitching too good. And what effect did that have? Well, Aiden May pitched a lot better. And after pitching a lot better with that just insane and weak form of gamesmanship from the Oregon skipper, took every opportunity to tell the Oregon dugout about it. And if longtime listeners of the show will know and be familiar with, we love celebrating pitchers who fuck with the Oregon dugout. And I love that Aiden May got to write that chapter in the lore of this baseball rivalry. He was fantastic. After the ump was like, yeah, there's nothing wrong. You guys just can't hit shit. He struck out the next batter, I believe, looked at the Oregon dugout, pointed to his glove and said, "Where's the sticky at?" So, JP, I'm sorry, you're going to have to be up tonight designing "Where's the sticky at" shirts to pair well with your Ryan Brown Gott's Got 'em shirts. Just everything you want in a rivalry game. And the Beavs prevailed and got that series dub, and now they have moved back up. They are pretty much across the board in the top 10, as high as 6 in some polls. The Oregonian officially follows the D1Baseball.com poll, which has them at 7. So you have them back in sort of that you will get a super regional if you take care of your regional range, which, with how well this team plays at Goss, 2 total losses on the year, is very encouraging. So I think, it wasn't the sweep or any, we've blown the fuck out of the Ducks in games before it that obviously make us feel really good. But a very business-like victory at Goss this weekend. What do you guys think?
And a better Oregon team than what we're used to seeing too. I mean, they're ranked number 22 in the country. So, I don't think that it should go unnoticed that we moved up in the rankings after we went 2-1 this weekend. It was a really good showing. And on Sunday, I mean, I don't want to give Oregon credit at all, but their pitching performance was really good. So yeah, I think it was a win. Look, it had me excited for what the regional and hopefully super regional is going to look like, because that was a super regional type crowd at Goss.
Yes, I was gonna say, shout out to the crowd.
It was just shout out to the crowd. What I personally love is if you look at football or basketball, both women's and men's, and you look at the games in Corvallis, there will be orange and there will be a lot of orange and black. There will be green and yellow scattered throughout the crowd, and same thing in Eugene. There's orange and black scattered throughout the crowd. That crowd, there was no yellow and green in that crowd. It just doesn't happen. You can't get a ticket to those games. And shout out to those people that showed up. It was loud and intimidating. And if you want to make things worse on you, ask to check the pitcher's mitt, because Goss got a lot louder after that.
The fuck do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah, not a good idea. Not a good idea at all.
Well, and shout out Aiden May, of course, just stellar performance and way to ratchet it up when you're called out and show them up a bit on the mound. I love the showmanship. We'll have to work on getting a hand pointing at a mitt, glove, a shirt done.
The lines are difficult, but we'll get it done.
We'll figure something out. But if you look back so far this year, I think that this is something that is rightfully going to be expected of Aiden going forward, and it's because this is what we've anticipated he could bring to the rotation. And I mean, his line jumps out from this weekend. With the 14 Ks, for example, that is more than double his strikeouts in a single game this year. And he kept walks at a minimum, which is awesome. And the 8 innings, of course, is because he's just rolling. But if you remove, he's had 3 starts where he's given up more than 1 earned, and it's essentially then 1 a month of play. And so, I think that he could be a guy if he really finds his rhythm like he did against Oregon and finds that fire that he had during that game and towards the end of that game, then I think we're going to be in a good spot pitching, because I know that's been a spot where everyone's been worried about. Some of these guys, their pitches just develop over the season, and May's slider is honestly one of the wildest sliders I have seen in college baseball in a while. And then Kmat's too, with that, his curveball looks like it's being lobbed, and then it just cuts on you so hard. So I like both those guys leading this rotation as we head towards the final stretch of the season, looking at regionals and hopefully super regionals. But one thing to point out is we won the series against an Oregon team, rightfully higher rated than I think most of us anticipated they would be. And then we did it all without Travis Pisano setting the table. And I think the offense does live and die by what Travis does to set the table. And he went 1-9 this weekend. 1-9. And I think he had 5 strikeouts during that as well. So I don't expect him to keep up that kind of performance. And I think he'd be the first to say that he doesn't expect that either. I have a lot of encouraging signs that I've seen from this series, just because, when you can win with pitching like they did, that is one of their Achilles heels so far this season. And when they relied on the offense, especially a table setter like Bazana, and he wasn't delivering either, and they still pulled out a series win, that is big time. So, and against a ranked team nonetheless. So I really enjoyed watching the baseball games this weekend. I also came away from it with a lot of optimism, and not higher expectations, but I guess a bit of a resurgence in my expectations for what this team is capable of, and rightfully so, because they've proven that there are at times different people who can carry this team, whether it's offense or defense. And now is the time to start putting it all together and getting that prepared for the postseason.
Benny, to your point, there was not a lot of green and yellow at the stadium, but I will say I did see one guy, and I'm pretty sure he is the same one guy who is in that photo on Twitter from an Oregon game earlier this year where their entire attendance was one guy. It's
probably the same guy.
One guy, hey, props to you, man. I'm sure you'll be there on Tuesday in Eugene. Rivalries don't exist without, fans on both sides. But anyway, that is my favorite picture on Twitter. My favorite thing that you've pointed out on Twitter. There's a great family bit that expands on it that I won't plagiarize here. But so I hope that there's definitely going to be a lot more orange and black at is it PK Park? Yes, PK Park.
Goss South,
essentially, on Tuesday night at 6:05 p.m. Pacific time, which is a non-conference game. So I'm guessing it won't be the last non-conference game we see these fuckers in for a while. But so Sunday, unfortunately, was the last, at least regular season conference game of the Oregon State Oregon baseball rivalry.
One of my favorite things over the weekend was I asked you guys a question on Saturday night, and I said, what are your guys' thoughts on going to either the regional or super regional? And JP just answers yes. So with that being said,
the thought is yes.
Thought, yes.
I thought long and hard about that one.
Yeah, I thought long and very hard about it.
Long and hard, and the guys are
hard on the D. I love defense. I just love defense so much.
Right.
It gets me so excited.
Oh, I love a good hard defense.
Good hard defense. Yeah, it gets the engine revving.
Yeah.
So of course that will be coming up soon. The final game against Oregon is of course Tuesday, as we mentioned. That will be followed by a road series at Wazoo, who have not been great this year, with a road game at Gonzaga tacked on to that. Then you get UCLA at Goss for the final home series. Close out the season at Arizona, and that goes right into the Pac-12 tournament once again in Scottsdale. Was just there. It's hot. So I am actually, because when you texted that, Benny, I said I'll be in Italy. Oh, good for me. I know. Thanks, guys. I think I might be back.
So bad.
We'll see. It is. I've got WNBA to write about, so it will be hard for me to get anywhere. But there's a chance. There's a chance. I'd love to, of course, make it to Corvallis for a regional or super regional. But also, I'm not the farthest drive away from Omaha, so I hope I have a reason to go to Omaha. And then, Benny, you and I for sure can stay at the brand new casino in Council Bluffs, which was built entirely on sports betting.
Let's do it.
I won most of my bets in Arizona this weekend. They're all reasonable. I didn't do any parlays. I just did straight up ones I felt good about. And, I'm up like $100 at this point. I threw some futures on while I was there because it's, of course, illegal here in Minnesota. So
can you imagine just being at the College World Series and putting money on every game and going to whatever they call the new Rosenblatt Stadium?
Yeah. And then going to Rocco's and buying all of the Jello shots after that.
I will not be substance free that weekend.
Not only winning the College World Series, but winning the Jello shot challenge against Arkansas and LSU.
Oh, God. I just got shivers up my spine.
Manifest it, baby. Manifest it, baby. But yeah, if you are in the area, please go to Goss South in Eugene on Tuesday, April 30th. Once again, that game starts at 6:05 p.m. First pitch.
Yeah. Nice.
Anything else pressing you guys want to get to before we get out of here?
Yeah, I want to shout out. We got to shout out softball. They had their senior weekend this weekend. Yeah. So I think it's important to shout out our seniors on their final game at Kelly.
April 30th once again.
Yeah. Well, not in the finale, but
hell yeah.
Hey, what are you looking up?
I'm trying to find the list of everyone who was on.
I know I had the list.
It's not in here.
Hey, before we forget, hit the ad too.
Oh, hit the ad.
Hit the ad. This episode of the Belligerent Beavs podcast, episode 139. Stack them up and count them, baby. Is brought to you by our friends at Seamheaded. Seamheaded.com is cooking up all kinds of great stuff for this baseball season, celebrating teams and games and players of past, present, and future somehow too. Shirts, shorts, pants, baseball playing equipment, batting practice shit, all kinds of stuff over at Seamheaded for a great selection of rounding out a baseball themed drip system, celebrating
men's leggings,
the heritage of men's leggings and the role they have played in America's pastime, baby. What more can you ask for in baseball themed apparel? This is, we love working with Seamheaded, our friend Pat the Bat Ryan, who has done a great job cranking out new stuff every season. And also still hold true the belligerent collection, which you as a Belligerent Beavs listener get a guaranteed discount of 31% off when you use promo code CHOP'EM at checkout. Once again, that's promo code CHOP'EM at checkout for 31% off any item in the Belligerent specific collection at Seamheaded for the nicest discount in the game. Seamheaded.com, all things baseball, all the time. Check them out. Shout out Pat the Bat. Consider that ad hit.
That was hit so hard.
I don't know if all of these did participated in Senior Day, but since that list is not on the recap, don't want to shame anyone for not including it. The senior eligible players at Oregon State softball are Deja Westbrook, Abby Dorr, Savannah Watley.
Oh yeah,
Grace Mesmer, Charity Savetasi, Jade Soto, Chloe Moffitt, and Madison Simon, Harley Braswell, Logan Hewlin, and that's it. So
it's a long list.
Didn't get to you. That is a long list. Again, who knows if anyone is coming back using their COVID year or whatever, but those are who have senior standing at the moment. Just wanted to make sure we got through all of that.
Their graphic on X has Abby Dorr, Chloe Moffitt, Deja Westbrook, Jade Soto, and Grace Mesmer as the congrats seniors.
Okay. That's a pretty good indicator of who is moving on to the next phase of their career. So congrats, Beaver softball.
Congrats.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. We still remember that run to Oklahoma.
Oh, hell yeah, we do.
And we'll get back there. We'll get back to Oklahoma one day. Can't wait.
Yeah.
All right, this sounds like a good time to end episode 139 of the Belligerent Beavs podcast. Not quite 139 minutes, but we did our damnedest, and we care about you too much, listeners, to go for that long. So we are going to end it here. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not done so already, please like and subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Please, please, please. 5-star reviews really help us grow the show a lot, and we count on you for that support. And if you can have a moment, please take the time to share the show with a friend. Hit them up. Let them know. Maybe you've been chatting about how awesome the Timberwolves were in their first playoff series and how quickly they dispatched the Suns. You could be like, hey, there's a big Wolves fan on this podcast. Give it a shot. Give it a chance. I don't know how you live your life, but you could choose to do that tomorrow or today or yesterday if you'd like to. And please feel free to follow us on all social media channels. We are at Bellig Beavs on X, formerly known as Twitter, and at Belligerent Beavs pretty much everywhere else. That's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If these video pods are coming, they'll likely be on YouTube. That would be a very sensible first place to put them. TikTok too.
OnlyFans.
We got, well, of course, OnlyFans. That's at Dudes on the D on OnlyFans.com.
Don't go there.
At Belligerent Beavs on Facebook, TikTok, Friendster, MySpace, Napster, old iTunes, LimeWire, BearShare, and all other things that have touched the internet. So Kazaa.
Blasphemy.
Kazaa. But you have to say Kazaa. It's like whenever we have a games in Arizona at Surprise Stadium, and we're like at Surprise Stadium in Surprise, Arizona. Follow at Belligerent Beavs at Kazaa. Anyway, myself, who is clearly out of anything cheeky or brilliant to say at this point, is Terry Horstman. You can follow me at Terry Horstman on Twitter and at Terrence Horstman on Instagram.com. I am joined, as I always am, my beloved co-host and best friends from our time at OSU, Benjamin Lawrence, Sebastian Wehage, a.k.a. Benny with the good quaff, a.k.a. Benny Bowl Game, a.k.a. Good. Benny Blastoff, a.k.a. Benny Burner, a.k.a. Benny Bedlam, because he's fucking crazy, folks, a.k.a. Benny's substance free, and his quaff and his face are looking great on the Instagram right now, and he's putting out too many kilojoules on Peloton. You need to slow down. Follow Benny on Peloton and tell him to slow down. It's getting crazy out here. All that with a 16-pound vest on, too. It's ridiculous.
Ooh, crazy.
And, of course, the man behind the ones and twos, JP Bertram. You can follow him on Twitter at the Trio J. That's at the_Trio_J, because he's too Trio to be real. And on Instagram at JP Bertram. And I forgot to say Benny's social channels. Benny L 1986 on all the social channels. Just bounce it around. keeping myself on my toes intentionally here. I'm not still just riding high off of a big Game 4 win and staying up until 2 a.m. Central Time watching highlights and shit. Thank you for tuning in to the Belligerent Beavs podcast. Tune in again next week. We'll be your host for all things Beaver sports through the rest of the spring, the summer, and beyond. We love you, listeners. Go Beavs. Go Beavs forever. Let's make a run to remember baseball. Let's get some more guys in this transfer portal, football, and NFL Beavs. Congrats. Keep making us proud, boys. You got this. And remember, Beaver fans, no matter what they do, no matter what they say, no matter what lawsuits they say are bullshit, no matter how many cease and desists they send you, no matter how many one Oregon fans showing up to Goss, none of them can spell chop 'em without hope. So chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
Beavs and Wolves back, baby.
Lots of dudes on that D.